Good morning, everyone, and welcome to day number 3 of the Canadian Senior Men's Softball Championship. My name is Peter Labardius, along with the voice of men's fast pitch in North America, Blair Setford. And Blair woke up a little earlier today because we did not want to miss out on this matchup. It is a pair of two 3-0 teams. It's Bear Creek Express from Ontario and last year's finalist, the Toronto BATMEN, on a spectacular morning in Surrey, British Columbia.
Yeah, Peter, indeed. We both got up early, got out on the road to get here to Softball City through the Vancouver traffic, and it is going to be a special matchup. Potentially top spot in this division. Still got to get through the Galway Hitmen.
Some excellent matchups on the final day of the round robin. The playoffs will begin tomorrow. The top 8 teams out of 13 advance, but if you finish in first or second place in your pool, it brings with it an extra playoff opportunity or life.
And this is one of those games where Bear Creek is coming off a high-energy win last night over the Sauk Loggers. Toronto only had the single game yesterday, so they were out doing other things. But bright and early, first thing on the diamond, so who can get the jump between these two?
Brandon Horn, a national team member during his career against Dustin Veenhoff, a predominantly left-handed hitting lineup. And with the glasses down, the play is made in center field by Mason McKay, one of the very promising youngsters on this Toronto BATMEN team. And there is one away. Veenhoff has thrown 5 and now a third innings in this tournament, given up 6 hits, 2 runs, 2 earned runs. He struck out 9 and walked 1, and facing Tyler Pauli. First time he suited up for Canada at the 2014 World Junior Men's Championship. As Veenhoff misses off speed, down and away to even the count on Pauli at 1 ball and 1 strike. Pauli yet to get into a groove here in Surrey as he turns on that inside pitch and pulls it down the line foul. In fact, he's still looking for his first hit, Blair. He's 0 for 9 so far in the tournament, and we've remarked on certain players in the first 2 days is it's only a matter of time.
Well, it often is with Tyler Pauli, and when he gets hot, he can carry a team for 3-4 games.
And that hit hard right back at Veenhoff, who does well to compose himself and retire Tyler Pauli. 2 ISC batting titles would tell you that he is more than capable of getting hot in a tournament format. So 2 outs for the BATMEN, who lost to the Galway Hitmen in last year's championship final in St. John's. And here's one of the true budding stars of this sport, not only in our country but in the world, Quentin Bruce. He's bandaged on that right hand, by the way, hit by a pitch in the game by Derek Mason of the Sauk Loggers. And Bruce, 2 integral plays in that game in the win over Sauk last night to elevate them to a 3-0 record. He tied the game with a solo home run, his 3rd of the event. And then after getting hit by that pitch in the 6th inning, he tagged on a ball, running from first to second on a ball to, I would say, not necessarily deep left, but deep enough, and ended up scoring a go-ahead run in a 3-run 6th. They would give up 1 and win the game 4-2. And this was the guy who led everyone in batting at the recent World Championship last late November and into early December in New Zealand. Quentin Bruce hit .550.
It's been a remarkable run for Quentin Bruce the last 2 seasons here in top-level men's fast pitch, All-Canadian, All-American, ISC All-World, WBSC All-World, and just continued that run this year too, and ball 4. And it would have been easy for Bruce to coast, but he worked on his game defensively. He's got all the offensive skills. And where he wants to elevate his game now, Peter is working on the defensive side, the little things, getting jumps on balls, going back on balls hit directly to you and over your head, how to play those. And those are the things that are going to stand him in good stead and make him potentially one of the next generational players.
And the thing that's so exciting about him from my perspective is he's a 5-tool player. There isn't any part of his game that is lacking. Hits incredibly well, which is so important. Has great speed, excellent instincts. Like you said, maybe the one thing is just to become a more experienced outfielder.
And that will come with the games under your belt. He's playing center field here this week, primarily has been a left fielder for much of the last few years.
As Travis Jones sends it straight back off Vinoff.
These two have been playing against each other since they were kids up in the Grey Bruce Peninsula.
The All-Ontario matchup. There are 3 teams here, and they're all doing very well, including the Niagara Stompers. And there's a little exhibition, but a better throw by Derek Hyde to get Quentin Bruce trying to steal. He was hoping that he slid around that tag, which again, even the presence to try and do that. But there's why people talk about Hyde as potentially the next one in Canadian catching, certainly from a receiving standpoint. An interesting beginning, and the Batmen will do just that. They'll bat when we return to Softball City. Reese Yancey takes the ball today for Bear Creek. An up-and-comer in the Canadian pitching world. Played for Canada in April at the U23 World Cup, which was more of an under-25 event because of COVID and the event itself that was supposed to be played in 2021 being pushed back to April of 2023. And he faces an excellent player, a national team member in Ty Sebastian, the shortstop. And I'm excited to watch Yancey in person for the first time here this morning. A left-hander, not the biggest of stature when you think about a lot of pitchers. And Blair, what's in his arsenal?
Really good drop ball from Reese Yancey. when he's at his best, he is hitting his spots, and he's got control of all his pitches. Where he can struggle is if he doesn't have one of the drop or the rise in the strike zone, and that makes it easy for the batters just to eliminate that pitch and then focus on the other. But Reese has got all the tools. It's just the ability to put them all together. And he's a young guy, 22, I think, and that's why the Team Canada brass is really excited about him. Ty Sebastian wanted time, thought he had it, but didn't get it.
Sebastian, so far in the tournament, is 3 for 8. He has a home run and a couple of runs batted in, and he'll draw a leadoff walk against the youngster, Yancey.
Reese has pitched the last couple of seasons with the Waterdown Hammer on the tournament circuit, and he's gotten a lot of exposure. The Hammer play a very good schedule every year. Pete Chambers does a great job with the Waterdown Hammer, assembling a team, keeps them competitive.
And an aggressive play by the opposition. We saw an attempted steal by Quentin Bruce and a throw out at second to end the top of the inning. But Sebastian with a stolen base on the first pitch to designated player Cody Skelton.
I think he caught them napping because it was a late call from the bench and from the team that Ty was on the move, and he stole that easy.
Skelton is 1 for 7. So a runner in scoring position for the 3-0 Batmen against 3-0 Bear Creek Express. In a large encounter on the final day of the round robin, will crown a champion on Sunday afternoon, or who knows, maybe a little later on Sunday. Up the middle for Skelton, the base hit. Sebastian had to freeze to stay out of the path of the ball, and that allows him to move up just 60 when maybe to a different area, Blair, he would have had a chance to score.
Yeah, if that goes the other side of the shortstop, Ty Sebastian is likely rounding the bag and making his way to the plate. But hit right at him. One, you got to make sure you don't get hit with the ball, and two, you don't want to run right into an out if Zach Berg does make that play.
Corey Way, the batter. And Yancey delivers strike one. So a walk and a hit early in the game for Toronto. The rise misses up, and the catcher is Nick Moore, the battery mate. He had a big 2-run base hit in the 4-2 win last night over Souk, and what was a terrific game to end day 2. And Yancey upstairs again. Corey Way having a marvelous tournament. He's 5 for 9. And Skelton on the run on a first and third situation. I don't find it to be as prevalent in the men's game as it can be in the women's game. First and third scenarios.
Well, that may have been a hit and run. Corey Way fouled off that inside pitch.
It was for sure. Popped up and a big out for Yancey. As Scott Lelis comes in, he's at first. Paul I, Zach Berg, and Brandon Horn around the diamond. Dallas Kipfer, Quentin Bruce, and Travis Jones in the outfield this morning for Bear Creek. And this is out of here. Bye-bye. And cleared the second fence. Danny Benson crushes it.
Well, Danny Benson was sitting on that pitch from Reese Yancey, got it up in the zone. Danny Benson goes the opposite way with it, and look at the power in this swing. Clears the perimeter fence here at Softball City out into the trees. Somebody had a good, strong cup of coffee this morning.
A monster shot off the bat of Benson. And it's 3-0 for the BATMEN. That was a shot. And those are runs batted in 7, 8, and 9 of the tournament for Benson. And Blair, you were quick to point out to me that you have high hopes for this player. You like him a lot.
He's a really good stick. He can play first base. He can play corner outfield. The versatility is something that the Team Canada brass are really looking for. And when you've got natural power, that is something that really will stand you in good stead in the modern game, too.
A 3-run homer in this teams with 3-0 record showdown. And nice bounce back by Yancey as he strikes out Adam Long with a good pitch upstairs. And there's 2 away for Isaiah Whetstone.
Bit of a forgotten man in the Toronto lineup at the World Tournament and here the first couple of days at the Canadians, but gets into the lineup this morning, and I think he's a guy that can contribute for Toronto. Just needs a little bit more playing time.
1 for 4 officially at home plate so far this week, and takes a strike on the inner half from Yancey. A blast by Denny Benson has Toronto in front. Benson's first home run of this Canadian Senior Men's Championship, and Whetstone thought that pitch was inside. The home plate umpire says it found the inside corner. A great beginning for the BATMEN in this battle of 2 teams with 3-0 round-robin records. Denny Benson's second home run of this tournament, and 7, 8, and 9th runs batted in, and apparently paled in comparison to a blast that we did not see yesterday on Diamond 3, where they're still looking for it in White Rock. So Vinoff in a much better position, ranging is long, and the throw pulls Whetstone off the bag, and it allows Travis Jones aboard as the leadoff batter here for Bear Creek.
Almost $1 million play there from Adam Long as he had to go well over to his right on the backhand. And Whetstone almost tap danced back to the bag, but Jones runs well enough to beat that out.
Designated player, Jeff Lyons. A lot of lefties in the lineup, which I think would have a lot to do, I'm guessing, with the pitching decision for this game for Toronto.
Dustin Veenhoff is an interesting character study out there. Doesn't have the big push and leap off the board. It's much more of a traditional push and drag style. His ball really moves late. He's not going to overwhelm you with velocity, but hits really good spots, changes speeds, up and down, changes the eye level. And one of the few guys at the World Tournament a couple of weeks ago that kept the New York Gremlins in check over 4 innings.
Well, looking to shut the door on a potential rally here. And a strike on the outside corner at 3-0 that Lyons was trying to sell his way down to first. Lyons 1 for 7 as he fouls that towards a trailer. Off the top of it, in between Diamond 1 and Diamond 4 in this beautiful softball complex. And I know, Blair, you've been blown away by what you've seen here in your first chance to make your way to Softball City.
I've been talking to so many of the players, Peter, in between games when I get the chance to get out and go see some of the action on the other diamonds. And all of the players that I have talked to, bar none, are just raving about this facility. The first chance for the men to come and have a big tournament here at Softball City, and they are enamored with this place. And those that will be coming here for the ISC World Tournament next year can't wait to come back.
Well, the ISC has always been interesting to me, Blair, and you forgot more than I'll ever know about that event. But there are certain cities and places where the tournament ends up far more often, and for good reason, and I'm wondering if next year might be the start of this particular facility becoming a more regular home.
I think that is a great thought. There's, of course, the geographical challenge. And when you look at where the preponderance of men's teams are based in North America, it tends to be largely in a big circle drawn around the Great Lakes area in Ontario, in the upper Midwest. Those are the teams that mostly drive to tournaments. Can't really drive out here.
No, you can't. And you know what that means in the world of cost.
With that said, you will still get teams that will find a way to get here. And there are a lot of local teams, as we know, we're seeing it here this week, that will get the opportunity and the exposure to a big event. Some of them are playing here in the Canadians this week. They'll see what it takes to play at a national and international level event, and they'll come back. And then they'll get into wanting to play at these types of events on the regular basis too.
Well, the ISC World Tournament will be staged here for the first time next August. Not sure if the dates are completely set for it.
Yeah.
I would guess that the guy beside me knows that answer.
Yeah, I believe it's going to be 10 to 17.
10 to 17. Guess I better pencil that in my calendar. Nick Moore struck out. Scott Lelis trying to drive in the first run with the glasses down. It's Sebastian and goes back on the ball. The more I watch Ty Sebastian play the game, the more I like what I see.
He's one of those guys right now that's just at the top of his game. Similar to Quentin Bruce, he's got all the tools, and he's a pitcher, so he's a double threat. He's really been leading this Toronto BATMEN team the last couple of years.
Well, Blair, when you think about World Cups, and in many cases 15-player rosters, we have had versatility conversations. That is a big advantage for the Toronto BATMEN shortstop.
Well, shortstop here for Toronto, he can play second base, he can play third, first if he absolutely needs to, plus pitch. So there's a guy that's got the infield covered.
It's a nice option to have. And in world events, where sometimes there can be a discrepancy between, although that's the beautiful thing that I love now about this game, the World Cup, when it gets to 8, the 2025 tournament might be as good a world championship as we've ever seen in the sport.
Yeah, there should be no 12-0 games in that tournament. Every game is going to mean something. And the top 8 in the world right now, and when I talk to players and coaches and managers from all of the countries, everybody talks about how close that top is. There isn't the spread like there used to be. The compression of the teams together, and they've all elevated their play. As you said yesterday, it used to just be the U.S., Canada, and New Zealand. Now you've got Australia, you've got Argentina, Venezuela, Czechia, all in that mix. And then not too far off of that are teams like Mexico.
I like that Mexican team at the U23 tournament.
And they've got some very good players coming along, the Valdez brothers, Lenny Villavazo, Sammy Villavazo. That team is going to be one to contend with. And do not count out Team USA for making a bigger step onto the podium. Marco Diaz throws harder than anybody in the game right now. He'll be on the U.S. staff.
That's great for the game. Fans in the Prince Albert area, buckle up. Get your tickets. They'll be hard to come by and should be. A stage qualifier is there next year, and then Prince Albert, Saskatchewan, host the next Men's World Cup in 2025. There's also a World Games, I believe, in 2025 in China.
Yeah, that's going to be an interesting event. I've heard a couple of the countries are talking about sending a development team over to that event. It's only going to be a 6-team event, but nobody even knows how the teams are going to be selected for that, if it's going to be the finish of the top 6 from the World Cup. But I can tell you right now, affordability will be an issue, as well as, and let's face it, everybody here has a day job, including you and I. And can you get 6-8 weeks vacation for all those national team commitments in 2025?
And the World Tournament, the ISC.
And the Canadians. And it's going to be an interesting and difficult decisions to be made for some players and teams.
Well, a good swing by Dallas Kipfer, who delivered a key RBI check swing base hit in a 3-run bottom of the 6th against Souk last night. On the topic of the World Under-23 Championship for Canada. Here's another member of that group.
Yeah, players from that team are all over this tournament, which is
sure
great to see.
And Canada's U18 team in Colombia as they get ready for the start of the Pan American Championships, a prelude to November's World Cup at the U18 level in Hermosillo, Mexico. It's 3-0 for the Batmen as we'll head to the bottom of the second on day number 3 of the Canadian Senior Men's Softball Championship. Denny Benson, 3-run home run in the first as the Batmen in front in this key battle of unbeatens. Both teams with 3-0 records. Yancey working. Berg, quick release. And is able to retire Johnny Baker.
Well, he made an out, but for Johnny Baker, that is probably a small moral victory. He's had trouble making contact here this week. He's been a guy who historically has been able to put the ball in play and has been noted for some big hits for the Nith River Monsters before he came over to the BATMEN. But he's had a difficult season.
Derek Hyde's already made an impact, and we haven't really spoken about it. Berg deep in the hole made a great play, but a infield single for Derek Hyde, who threw out Quentin Bruce trying to steal to end the top of the first.
Well, Derek Hyde just showed some good speed on the base paths. Good play by Berg to go way over in the hole to go get that ball, but can't throw out Derek Hyde.
And he's now 4 for 8. And he can run. Great throw. You couldn't walk there and put it in a better spot than Nick Moore just did.
We've got two good young catchers in this game. Nick Moore was on the Team Canada radar. He took almost 3 years off or away from ball, went to the police academy for the Ontario Provincial Police, got himself established in his career.
Oh, my goodness, what a play. Adam Berg. Or make that Zach Berg. Zachary. Brilliant. Remains 3-0. That one worth the price of admission for the fans in attendance. Great day to be at the park. Well, I think every day is a great day to be at the park, but it's...
No argument here.
I didn't think I would get one. Splendid day. And a splendid play to end the last inning by the leadoff batter for Bear Creek in the top of the third. That might have been the play of the event that he made at shortstop before we went to break, robbing Mason McKay of what appeared to be a for sure base hit. Berg 1 for 3 so far in this Canadian Championship. As Veenhoff continues to work.
And Peter, I don't know how the game magically and mysteriously works this way, but quite often you make a good play on defense, you seem to be coming right to the plate thereafter.
We have seen it a couple of times here off the fists, and it will not allow Berg to reach base. And you mentioned in the case of Veenhoff, we have talked Blair, the first 2 days on these broadcasts about people learning in the 8-foot circle to become pitchers. This is a pitcher.
Yeah, absolutely. Dustin Wienhoff has been playing in the ISC level almost since he was 19, 20 years old, and came up as a bit of a hard thrower. That was his reputation coming out of the junior ranks, but he is absolutely a finesse pitcher. And that out he just got there off of Berg, you said it, it was right in on the hands. That's the essence of Dustin Wienhoff. Spots, and again, come right inside on Brandon Horn, who fouled that one down off of his leg. When you can pitch like that and just hit the spots, you don't have to blow it by guys.
You don't. Your ability to change speeds, hit spots, location, keeping the ball out of people's wheelhouses. I mean, I know it's a different sport, and I'm not making any kind of comparison. In this regard, though, I think it applies. Greg Maddux for the Chicago Cubs and the Atlanta Braves primarily never broke 83. They wouldn't even look at Greg Maddux anymore. If you can't throw 95, they barely look at you. This is a tough short hop and too tough for Adam Long.
Made the right decision to try and come get it, but clanks off the glove. Sharply hit, just off the glove, and then took a bad bounce on Long through the legs. Brandon Horn. We'll see if they put him in motion. We've seen both coaches liking to run early here.
Down 3, I wouldn't think so.
I wouldn't think so either after the display there by Derek Hyde on the last stolen base attempt, but stranger things have happened.
Personally, I just don't see the importance in that run, and especially what you've got coming up in your lineup. And Paulai has his first hit, and it's for extra bases, and it's going to score Bear Creek's first run. You knew it was coming, and it just came.
Yeah, that's a good sign for the Bear Creek Express. When he heats up, as I said, he can carry a team through 2, 3, 4 games. He can rattle off 7, 8 hits out of 9 at-bats and pick up some big RBIs along the way. And that one, just a line hugger all the way down to the right field corner. And a couple of guys with speed, Horn and Paulai, easily circling the bases.
So quickly, Bear Creek take advantage of an error. And we've got some activity brewing now on the Toronto BATMEN side. And Quentin Bruce back to the plate. He walked and was thrown out attempting to steal to end the top of the first. Playing with a bit of a banged up right wrist, I would think. And it is wrapped today. Hit by a pitch late last night in the game by Derek Mason of Souk. And Souk with a couple of games left to play the host team. And they're a really good team.
They've got a terrific top of the batting order, 1 through 6, 1 through 7. They're as competitive as anybody. They just had some problems closing out games.
And a good block by Hyde, staying with it. And Paulai runs very well, as you saw as he raced around the bags, and now getting some direction from Dad. He's coaching over at third. From Mitchell, Ontario, here's Tyler Paulai. Three balls and a strike. To Quentin Bruce, 3 home runs already and 7 runs batted in. And had a pretty good turn at that and has upset at himself. I could read his lips from up here.
I'm a little surprised they came in that close to Quentin Bruce with a 3-run count. You don't want to just lay one in there for Bruce. As you just noted, already 3 home runs in the tournament. This isn't the guy to lose one to.
Blair, because you've seen him all the way along, did you see a breakout like this for him a few years ago?
I can recall giving an award to Quentin Bruce at a U23 event that Joe Todd and I ran in 2019. He was one of the top junior players. In 2019, he also played with the Kitchener Cubs at the World Tournament. They made the championship game that year, and I felt that Quentin Bruce in 2019 was a little bit overmatched facing the top guys in the game, but at that next tier down, he was already holding his own, if not even better, at that range, and now he is right in that top echelon. So it was one step forward, and he took it during the 2020 off season, where he went down to New Zealand and stayed with Heine Shannon and got a taste of how the Kiwis play, and he counts that as a big step in his development.
Stays with this. Will it carry out of here? He's done it again. And ties the game. Home run number 4.
I want to see the replay, because to me he hits this off the end of the bat, but he's got more than enough strength to take this out of the yard. That's off the end of the bat, straightaway center field. But you talk about a compact swing from Quentin Bruce. Jeff Ellsworth talks about short to the ball and then long through it, and that's exactly what Quentin Bruce just put on display right there.
Bear Creek has responded. Tyler Pauli, RBI triple, followed up by Quentin Bruce. 4 home runs, now 9 runs batted in. That's what he does.
I think safe to say that another All-Canadian nomination is likely in his future.
Yeah, unfortunately for him, you can't get an all-world tag, even if you have an all-world performance here, which he's having.
Well, he got that all-world tag 2 weeks ago, so he's collecting
good.
those. He's racking up those pretty quickly, too.
Yeah, when you do it in the same softball year at the World Championship, now named the World Cup like every other sporting event, including the Basketball World Cup, which did not start my morning off very well, I must say.
You were a little downcast about that.
No, you are seeing me at my absolute best. If I was not on the air today, I would have taken about what I call a personal 3-hour timeout. I may never watch my country play men's basketball again in the Summer Olympics. Now, I'm not going to count them out. They're still alive, but they play the reigning world champions from Spain to stay alive and keep their Olympic hopes and World Cup hopes alive. And I don't want to downplay the World Cup, but if you ever want a country to get over, and a country that, frankly, is getting very, very good at that game, make it to the Olympics and then play for a medal and see what can happen for a sport, which I never apologize, Blair. It's my favorite thing, is Canadian teams in sports. There is nothing in my wheelhouse that drives me passionately than that.
I have seen you get fired up for so many things. I think your passion for that World Junior Hockey Tournament is unparalleled. And also for all things Canadian.
Yeah, I've never really completely figured out why the DNA does that when I watch somebody in red and white. But like I said, I don't apologize for it and won't. And the great thing about having a chance to, whether it's watch or broadcast an event like this, is getting an opportunity in person to see Canada's premier talent, both players that you've already watched play for your country, but more importantly, who might again at different levels. There's a ground out.
Well, Adam Long, I think, could have given Ty Sebastian a much better opportunity to turn 2 on that play. It was a bit of a lackadaisical backhand flip that was low at the bag, and Sebastian was hoping he needs that ball up in his chest and allow him to make the transfer.
Nick Moore, as Veenhoff has remained in the game, had a nice 3-run cushion, but good teams can put pins in those cushions really quickly. And that's what Bear Creek has done. We arrived early because we thought this was one that had to be delivered to you today, and we're certainly not disappointed to be here. You can't do them all. Well, you could, but
you just can't.
You can't.
I will remind people that we will have a camera on.
Hot shot, handled well by Isaiah Whetstone, and you can finish that.
Well, we'll have the camera on for the 11:30 and the 1:30 game. So for fans of teams in those games, I know you want to see them. There will be a camera on. You'll be able to follow along and watch the game live. And then Peter and I will be back at 4, 6:30, and 8:30 for the nightcaps.
And all really good matchups on this final day of the round robin. We've got a great one brewing here. It's 3-3 going to the bottom of the third. A 2-run home run by Quentin Bruce has tied the game at 3. 2-3 spots put up by each team in a battle of teams with 3-0 records, and hit hard and curving away from Bruce. But the center fielder with another contribution in a different way.
Well, that's a great play by Quentin Bruce, and that's an improvement in his game. Those line shots hit right at him, and he went and got that. That's a great play. Ty Sebastian hit it so hard, it was curving away from Quentin, as you said. We saw that last night, too.
Here's Cody Skelton, and Skelton comes from a family that, along with himself, has given and continues to give so much to this sport.
Well, Cheryl and Mike Skelton each have teams here. Cheryl listed it primarily as the sponsor for the Toronto BATMEN. Cody put this together several years back as an opportunity to showcase some of his pals in the game, and they have evolved into being one of the top 10 teams in the world. That one's going to fall in for a base hit. Mike Skelton's here with one of the Legends teams, the Scarborough Force, Coburg Force. And this family is one of the biggest supporters of the game in Ontario and even across North America. And I certainly want to say thanks for everything that they do for the game and keeping it going at the highest level.
And I would echo that in a massive way. Certainly have not really had a big connection to that family, but connected enough to the sport to have seen that name over the years, and whether it's in a sponsorship role. And these sports are not exactly blessed, certainly at the federation level, with extra funds.
No, this is primarily a self-funded game, especially on the men's side. It's not an Olympic sport, so the funding isn't there as much as we would like it to be, and it is due to the support of families like the Skeltons that we get to do a lot of the stuff that we get to do.
Well, Cody, the benefit of a very difficult son. Quentin Bruce never picked up that pop-up, and then Corey Way lays down a sacrifice bunt and did it with one out. So now there are two and a runner in scoring position. And why wouldn't you want this guy with a runner in scoring position? His first time up today, he hit one over the perimeter fence to the opposite field in Denny Benson, as he and Quentin Bruce have been two of the hitting stars this week.
Some activity in the Bear Creek bullpen as Kirk Santala is up down that right field line.
Is that Tyler Randerson warming up over there?
It is down the left field line.
Nice change of pace from Reese Yancey.
Haven't seen that pitch very often at all, and good time by Nick Moore to pull that one out of the hat. There's Cody Skelton.
Batman opportunity to regain the advantage, and Yancey wanted it. 2 balls and a strike to the dangerous Denny Benson. There is a base open here and 2 outs. Change, misses up. And now a very favorable count. You do not want to make a mistake with a guy who is in some groove.
Yeah, you'd almost be better off starting over with Adam Alexander, who looks like he's going to pinch hit, but that's a great pitch on the outside corner right there from Reese Yancey. Didn't give in.
And don't be surprised if they go right back there again. But we know he has opposite field power, and plenty of it. Time is called. Toronto struck for 3 on a Benson 3-run shot. Bear Creek tied it on an RBI triple, followed up by a Quentin Bruce 2-run homer. And Quentin's already shading his eyes with his glove out in center. And you'll take that.
Yeah, not a bad decision there by Yancey. You got a fresh count now with Adam Alexander, who's just into the game pinch hitting. You don't give in to Denny Benson at all, giving him something that he can take out of the yard. But he and Nick Moore now have got to get the game plan for Adam Alexander, and we saw him come in with a pinch hit home run on day 1 to help the Batmen in that win over the Sioux Loggers.
Well, a dramatic come-from-behind victory on opening night is what's propelled last year's finalists to a 3-0 start. They were down 5-2, went to the 7th inning down by 2. Corey Way tied it with an RBI single to left, and they ended up winning the game, the international rule where you start the runner at second. They did not give up a run to Souk in their half of the 8th. Loaded the bases and walked home a 6-5 game-winning run. And that has propelled them to this matchup of teams from Ontario with 3-0 records. Adam Alexander. Yancey outside. Benson at first. Skelton the runner at second. And a good swing, but a swing and a miss by Alexander, who was turned loose on a 2-0 count.
Travis Jones very deep in right field.
And Yancey comes back again. Stabs the ball on the return from catcher Nick Moore. He understands the importance of this at-bat. In a 3-3 tie. And the final day of the round robin will crown a champion on Sunday. The weather could not be better. That will build confidence when you're a young pitcher. Yancey, a critical strikeout. And it remains 3-3 after 3 for two teams who have already won 3 in Surrey. Scott Lelis leads it off. Bear Creek battled back from an early 3-0 deficit to tie it with 3 of their own in the top of the third. And Dustin Vienoff continues to work with Tyler Randerson, who has played for his country. And the World Junior, now the age groups are very different than they used to be. There's U18, U23, and the Open, if you will, World Championships, World Cups. At all those different spots, Blair, there was a point where it was hard to keep up year by year in this sport with age groups. They kept changing.
Yeah, they've alternated between U20, U21, U18, U19. It's gone back and forth, and even in Canada here, the junior age was 21, it went up to 23, it came back to 21, it's gone back to 23 to match the WBSC age groups now. And I think we're at a point now where it's going to be consistent for hopefully the next decade or more.
Fouled back by Lelis.
They've set things up to be for one to be a feeder program into the next and into the Open division. It was such a leap for just about every player to go from the U19 into the Open division. There were a handful of guys who have done it over the years, and some who have even skipped the junior ranks and gone right to the Open level. Those are few and far between, but it's a much more of a graduated system now.
Good swing by Lelis.
Scott, normally with the Elmira Expos on the tournament circuit, and they've been out to the national championship a couple of times in recent years too. Picked up a bronze medal a few years back.
Into center, Mason McKay. You can see the glare, but he handles the sun very well. And there's one away in the top of the fourth. And the sun right now in that outfield, actually everywhere, because it is right above us, straight behind home plate. Dallas Kipfer, the batter, drills it down the right field side, but it curves foul. As Denny Benson will go to the fence and track it down. He has supplied Toronto's offense with a mammoth 3-run shot over the perimeter fence. That's the fence behind the home run fence. Set in the trees.
Well, Dallas is swinging with a little bit more confidence. I think that little squib base hit that he got last night into short left, picked up a couple of RBIs and helped his team win the game. That's really gone right to his confidence level. When he's swinging well, his swing is nice and fluid. It looked earlier like he was chopping at the ball.
Pitch up from Vienoff. Ball and a strike to Kipfer.
And he's chased that pitch in particular a fair bit too. The fact that he's able to lay off of that is a good sign.
Hits this well. It is gone. Dallas Kipfer gives Bear Creek their first lead. It's 4-3.
Definitely found the confidence.
And you knew it when it left the bat. So did he. So did we. And Bear Creek has taken its first lead against last year's silver medalists. We're going to have a whale of a weekend.
I'm glad we made the decision to come do this one because this is turning into what was always a very entertaining ball game. And we get down to those final 8. It's going to be a battle every single game.
Zach Berg, the shortstop, who, in case you missed it, made a brilliant diving catch in the hole at shortstop. Hits this hard, and Alexander tries to fight through it, and the speed of Berg allows him to make his way to second base.
Watch it here on the replay. Tough chance for Adam Alexander on the backhand, and no hesitation by Zach Berg whatsoever. He's got speed to burn. He came around the bag, saw that the ball had dribbled away and that the outfielders weren't yet in position to pick that up, and I think that's going to be it for Dustin Vienoff.
Well, Vienoff gave up a 2-run shot to tie the game, and then the solo shot here by Kipfer, and has been let down a little bit, I would suggest, by his defense. A couple of errors over at second base have not helped. Tyler Anderson's going to try to prevent any more damage. We'll take a quick timeout. The first game, well worth it. And we're bringing it to you on Softball Premier Television. Tyler Randerson has completed his warm-up pitches. He's thrown 5 innings in the tournament. He's appeared in 1 game. In that game, he gave up 4 runs on 2 hits, walked 3, and struck out 7. His team now trails for the first time after a Dallas Kipfer solo homer to right center. The long ball playing a large role so far in this game. Brandon Horn is the batter. Zach Berg on an air at second and straight back from a player that participated in the 2013 World Championship for Canada.
And played a huge role in igniting that comeback, that legendary comeback in 2015.
He sure did.
Randerson's primarily a rise ball pitcher, which will certainly benefit some of the long ball hitters on this Bear Creek squad.
Trying to get on the same page signal-wise with catcher Derek Hyde. McKay takes care of it. A tag, a throw offline, but Berg made the smart decision. You don't want to remember my first ever ball coach, and I think I probably knew it because I was already an absolute sports junkie before I ever started playing, said, we don't make outs at third base before there are 2 outs.
Well, the old adage, don't make the first or third out at third base, but
I don't like making any
yeah,
out
exactly.
there.
Yeah, I wanted to end that thought with exactly that. You're already in scoring position. You don't need to force it.
No, you don't. And you're right. It really is. There's no real good time to make an out over there. Paul I, his first hit of the tournament was a big one, and he's playing with a bandaged left hand. It's that time of the year.
You literally took the words out of my mouth. It's that time of year where all the little nicks and cuts and bruises have added up. The wear and tear on the pitchers over the course of the season have taken their toll. We turn the page tomorrow to September 1st. Or have we done that today? We've done that today, actually, haven't we? Yes.
And I don't like how September is starting, but I'll be good with it. I like how this game's going. That is sky high in the sun. McKay will leave for way. Well, he found one, but I wouldn't recommend it. It gets the job done.
Made everybody on the Toronto side, their hearts skipped a beat here. Right there.
Four 4-3. Toronto in a huddle, trailing for the first time. For the first time in the game, young pitcher Reese Yancey works with the lead. Gave up a 3-run homer in the bottom of the first, has worked his way out of a couple of spots, and his team has responded with 4 runs in their last 2 at-bats. Isaiah Whetstone, not playable, as members of the Souk Loggers in a must-win situation against Surrey in the next game.
And just a reminder, that will be on the streaming service here on Softball Premier TV. It'll be game audio only for the next 2 games, and then we'll be back at 4 o'clock.
Change up to Whetstone, out in front of it to foul it off. And if you are Bear Creek, you'd love a shutdown inning right now after taking your first lead. And that will help you get one. A strikeout of Whetstone.
That's twice that Ike's been rung up on that inside corner. Gio Inanoni from Quebec is the home plate umpire. Nick Allen from BC is out at first. Ryan Weber, Alberta, out at third.
Third baseman Johnny Baker steps in. There's a good-looking changeup. I don't think he went, and neither did the first base umpire, who is Nick Allen from British Columbia. He's no Ed Allen. You remember Ed Allen?
I know the name.
Ed Allen used to have a everyday fitness routine on television in the morning when we had 2 channels. That for our older demographic.
Mm-hmm. And he was no Richard Simmons.
No, he was not Richard Simmons. That is for sure. Both entertaining.
That is a great at-bat from Johnny Baker, as we talked about, has struggled here this week, but he worked a walk, took some close pitches, and got himself aboard.
Well, Derek Hyde has a base hit today. He was thrown out by his fellow catcher, Nick Moore, trying to steal second. Straight up and out of play. Hyde having a fine tournament from a batting standpoint, and that will catch the attention of the Team Canada brass. It's probably fair to say that wouldn't be his best asset.
Top defender. Bring the offense up to that level, and that's a guy who then becomes the number 1 contender for that catching job, as Ryan Boland likely on his final cycle of tour duty with the Team Canada experience.
Runner on, 1 out in the bottom of the 4th as things kind of slow a little bit in terms of pace of play.
Kirk Santala down in the bullpen. He's thrown about 4 innings of relief.
I look forward to the Setford education when he enters the game.
And Ty Sebastian is down throwing just casually on the left field side for Toronto.
And another walk.
That, I think, is going to be it. Here comes Doug Charlton out of the dugout from the Bear Creek Express, and he was signaling to the umpire, so I think that will be it for Reese Yonti. A couple of walks here after the strikeout.
And we are going to have a pitching change, and we're going to get a look at Kirk
Santala.
Santala. in a difficult spot to come into. Back with that right after this. The Batmen threatening to draw at least even in the bottom of the fourth. How about a scouting report on our new pitcher, Mr. Sedford?
Kirk Santala, originally from Quebec, won a Canadian Junior Championship in 2016 in Tavistock with his Quebec team. A late inning, extra inning comeback, if I remember correctly, over Oshawa that year. Has been based out of southwestern Ontario for the last several years as he moved here for work, and has been playing the last couple of years for the Elmira Expos. Did a tour of duty with the Shakespeare Falcons prior to that. Good pitchers, not going to overwhelm you with speed, but hit spots well.
On the ground, a shovel, Pauli, a great turn. Something to like about Zach Berg in terms of the way he plays shortstop.
He's got great hands at short, and he learned a lot playing behind David Galino this year from the Mexico national team the last couple of tournaments for the Express. But he's somebody to keep an eye on in the future, too. Just 22, 23 years old, Zach Berg, a prime defender out there at short.
That at times is something I'm not always sure there's enough emphasis put on, your ability to prevent runs.
Yeah, defense.
You've talked about it being such a power game now, and it is.
And immediately we're getting a visit here from Jeff Paul. I know this is going to be more about strategy, and do you pitch to Ty Sebastian with a base open, or do you contemplate taking your chances here with Cody Skelton? I'm sure this conversation right now is do not let Ty Sebastian beat you. We had this conversation the other night, didn't we? In the Souk game with Toronto, and they've just put Ty Sebastian on. They've loaded the bases to go after Cody Skelton. Discretion, the better part of valor here for the Bear Creek Express. And from a percentage basis, and this is no slight to Cody, but from a percentage basis, this is the play.
Skelton has a hit. A pop up to center that Quentin Bruce couldn't find in the sun. Bases loaded. A one-run deficit in a battle of two 3-0 teams. And Santella delivers strike one.
That's his best pitch, the drop ball down in the zone. get guys to beat it into the ground where he can get hurt as if he leaves the ball up in the zone.
So Sebastian McKay at first and second now on the ground. Lelis just got there to make the tag. Nip and tuck. Still 4-3 Bear Creek after 4. Quentin Bruce, a 2-run homer, his 4th of the tournament, tied the game at 3 in the 3rd after Toronto. The Batmen broke out to a 3-0 lead off a Denny Benson 3-run blast in the bottom of the 1st. But a Dallas Kipfer home run in the 4th. And then the ability for Bear Creek to get out of a bases-loaded jam. And this game has delivered to its billing. First place in the pool to the winner. And a guaranteed, I would think, Blair, almost second life in the playoffs.
And it's important, too, for the seeding. You avoid the Galway Hitmen in your first game if you are the top seed. And you want to play the Hitmen as late as possible in the playoff round and avoid getting dropped down into the elimination zone just after one game. And, of course, you take your shot at the Galway Hitmen, too.
Well, they were on the ropes a little bit in a game we did, and Bruce, bye-bye. This guy's off the charts.
Peter, we were talking off air, rise ball pitcher against a power hitter and left one up in the zone for Quentin Bruce, a no-doubter. We'll see it on the replay. Just gets way too much of the plate with this pitch.
When does he get his own movie called Bruce Almighty? Second home run of the game, 3rd run batted in. Now has 10 runs batted in the tournament and 5 home runs. Brad Ezekiel hit 7 in last year's tournament in Newfoundland and drove in 15. Quentin Bruce is having that kind of week. So what's new? Bruce Almighty. I think we're going to go with that nickname.
I'm liking that, Bruce Almighty.
He deserves it. That ball foul off the bat of Travis Jones, the right fielder. Travis has a base hit today. As Bruce takes Randerson deep. And they're going to check the bat.
Well, they might have done that at the request of the BATMEN. So all the bats are compression tested, and then I believe they're given a sticker to say that it's been certified. And so they're looking for the sticker, and of course they're not permanent stickers. It's possible that it fell off, but if it's not got the sticker on it, then it's an illegal bat. And is that I'm looking at Mike Brancho standing behind us. Is that a ejection for the player?
He's nodding yes, but they've given it back.
So it must have been hidden somewhere on the bat. So the sticker's on it, and it is deemed a legal bat, so away we go.
And you know that they've had that in their pocket over on the Toronto side. Trying, if anything, to maybe change some momentum and take a pretty key bat potentially out of the lineup.
The Marty McSorley illegal stick.
1993. Eric Desjardins with the overtime winner for the Montreal Canadiens. The last time a Canadian team won the Stanley Cup, which is almost unfathomable. And a strikeout on Jones. The Montreal Canadiens won 10 overtime games that spring. 10.
Listen, I'm still bitter about the non-call on the
I know what you're
Wayne Gretzky high stick.
You should be. You should be. That was an incredible series. At that point in my life, Toronto was always my second favorite team. Then I moved to Toronto and started covering the Leafs. And then I won't tell you where they might rank on my list now.
I can only imagine.
No. Actually.
Well, in your profession, you don't really get to cheer for teams much, do you?
No, I don't. The only team that I will always talk about in that way, and I don't openly cheer for them when I call their games, as I called Canadian women's softball this year right in this facility at the Canada Cup. But I'll never apologize for wanting Canada to win, even publicly.
No, and it's very hard to not get emotional about that, and I can relate to that with the 2015 WBSC experience in Saskatoon, and even 16 when Tyler Randerson was pitching at the U19 event then, which the junior men's.
That was the loss to New Zealand?
That was the loss to New Zealand. New Zealand will go on to lose 2-1 to Japan in 9 innings, and we got our first looks back then at Rio Koyama, Daniel Chapman, Tyler Randerson, Michael Holla-Braddock. Some top pitchers came out of that 2016 junior men's event.
Randerson delivers. Strikes out. Lions for out number 2, and his second consecutive strikeout came into the game a couple innings ago now to replace the starter, Dustin Wienhoff. Or last inning, in fact. Has given up a home run in this inning, his second of the game, 5th of the tournament, to Quentin Bruce. Nick Moore misses on the Randerson changeup. There's Randerson settling in. A World Junior bronze medalist. To Corey Way. It hasn't always been easy, but I was going to do it. I'm not going to do it. You know where I was going next. It's an out. That's where I'll leave it. In foul territory in Toronto, at one point led by 3. Now trail by 2. Kirk Santella on in relief, came in the last inning, got himself out of a bases-loaded situation when he replaced Reese Yancey, who was the starter, facing Corey Way, who went into foul territory to record the last out. And a swing and a miss, some nice late movement on that pitch. Corey's 0 for 1 in the game. He popped up to third and then laid down a sacrifice bunt his last time at home plate. Bear Creek trailed by 3 and now lead by 2. And the long ball has been their friend. 2 of them off the bat of Bruce Almighty, Quentin Bruce. I'm normally not a nickname type person, but this one I might work on. Nice drop. Dipped on Way, swung over top of it, and Santella has a strikeout. And the first out of the bottom of the 5th. Denny Benson has supplied the Toronto offense with a launch over the perimeter fence in left field in the bottom of the 1st for his second home run, and runs batted in 7, 8, and 9. And then was intentionally walked by and large his last time up. Santella working to a very hot, determined power hitter.
Kirk has done a good job right now changing speeds. He's working primarily down in the zone, but when he's come up, he's done it with a purpose and good location right now.
He's almost the right-handed version of Veenhoff.
Very similar.
Some good up movement on the 2-1 pitch. Has the perfect frame for the position. drilled. Out of here. He's delivered again.
Well, he got the ball up in the zone where Denny Benson was looking for it. You had a great look at Denny Benson right before the delivery of that pitch. Quentin Bruce took one step to his left, and that ball was past him in a hurry.
It's Denny Benson with his second home run of this game, and another no-doubter. His third of the tournament, and now he has 11 runs batted in. What a game to start Day 3, the final day of the round robin, the 8-team playoff part of this competition begins tomorrow. And Riley Mannion coming off another terrific performance in the game last night over the Souk Loggers. Working again. Another member of Canada's U23 in quotations team in April in, say it,
Paraná.
Paraná.
Oh, you got it.
There we go.
Got to roll the R.
Paraná. It doesn't get the official stamp until the guy to your left says okay to it. He's busy.
Paraná.
Paraná. I got the thumbs up from Luciano.
Entre Rios. Entre Rios.
Entre Rios. Stick to English, Lou Bardius. And the only Greek words I know I can't repeat, or certainly shouldn't. Classes for Berg. Oof. Oof is right. Heard somebody offer that up here. Is that wind, which can really swirl, as you saw yesterday, at this diamond. Not to mention the sun, but Berg has had an excellent game at shortstop. Handles it for out number 2. Isaiah Whetstone. As Kirk Santella settles right in after giving up the Benson blast. So guys with last names that start with B. Bruce and Benson, Bear Creek, and the BATMEN. There's a lot of B's on this Friday morning to start the month. I can't believe it's already September.
Summer, we hardly knew ye this year.
Yeah, I've had an awesome summer. The busiest one maybe of my entire lifetime, but thoroughly enjoyed it. And a great way to not quite cap it off, but working with a fine gentleman who's given so much of his life to this game on the men's side, Blair Setford. The thing I love about Blair, unlike myself, always even-keeled, never gets too high, never gets too low.
Clearly, you never played when I was playing.
Well, I didn't play against you, and I wasn't good enough to play against you. I was a guy who loved this game but never played it until I was 19 years old. I played baseball growing up in Saskatoon and was okay at it. Berg, big hop, little juggle. And Whetstone runs well.
Yeah, he was caught betwixt and between there. Waited for the second hop. I'm not sure that he's going to get him even if he charges it because he's got to make a running play. But you can see it here. It's the right there. Can't get the grip on it. And it was going to be 50-50 to get Ike at first anyway.
So Whetstone, I would think that would be a base hit.
I got to go with a base hit.
Yep. I know I certainly would.
Joe Todd would give an error.
I bet you Joe has barely missed a second of this.
Other than the real late games where they've been 8:30 our time, 11:30 Eastern, I think Joe has watched those on demand in the morning.
My word for Joe and I've coined one now in thinking about him, and thanks to him for everything and what he has given to this game. He is a delightful human.
That is a wonderful word for Joe.
I'm glad you approve. I was thinking about it last night on my drive home. This sport has great athletes, but never forget about the connections you make with some of its people.
Well, Peter, every year when Joe and I attend the Hall of Fame ceremonies, we hear the stories about the people in the game, the connection with the people. The games are the games, the scores are the scores, but what is remembered when it's all said and done are the friendships, the softball family that you create.
And that's what it really is. And a strikeout. Kirk Santella responds well after giving up a home run to Denny Benson. It's been a dandy. 5-4 Bear Creek over the Toronto Batmen heading to the 6th. Five-4 Bear Creek, two teams in a battle for first place in their pool. They're in the pool with 6 teams after Manitoba pulled out quite late. Mason McKay says, I'll take care of that. As it was hit well by Lelis, but basically right at the young center fielder, who had a great U23 Canadian Championship before this one and played at the U23 World Cup.
So did this guy, Dallas Kipfer, and we talked about the confidence that he looked to be having in his swing right before he deposited one into the parking lot out in right center.
Well, had a huge RBI last night as a pinch hitter, which I'm going to guess added to his confidence level waking up and making his way early to the park after a late night. Remember, they played the last game that went to just about 11 o'clock last night.
Yeah, that's not something you ever really want to see on your schedule. You have the last game of the night and then the first one of the morning the next day, but Bear Creek so far handling it well.
Kipfer put them ahead for the first time with a solo shot in the fourth. Then Bruce added another home run in the 5th before Benson hit his second of the game in the bottom of the 5th, which is why we find ourselves at 5-4. Both teams have used two pitchers. As Dustin Wienhoff, the veteran left-hander, started for Toronto and gives way to Tyler Randerson. And Randerson upstairs on Kipfer, missed high with a rise.
Yeah, it's actually quiet in the bullpens. Pretty much the first time all game that neither team has had somebody up and warming.
Just give it a second or two. Change up and a beauty. Kipfer couldn't pull the trigger on the Tyler Randerson changeup. He's got a couple of strikeouts in the game. And here's shortstop Zach Berg. He reached base on an error and legged it out to second his last time up. And at a good rip at that, he's choked up considerably on the bat. Anderson rears back. And Ty Sebastian with a fine effort as one shortstop robs another. Sebastian back. Not to be confused with Bach. And it's 5-4 going to the bottom of the sixth. Eric Hyde, the catcher for the Toronto BATMEN, as they look to battle back. This is a very important round-robin affair. Both teams with 3-0 records, and they have put on a terrific show this morning. They both will play one more game today to close out their round-robin portion of the schedule. They'll both be in the playoffs. It's just a matter of where they'll finish, which has my broadcast partner reaching for the standings, and you just read my mind. So thank you. Hyde fouls back the Kirk Santella pitch.
Well, Bear Creek will be back on the broadcast at 4 p.m. They're going to take on the Grand Prairie Pirates. That will be an exceptional game here at 4 o'clock. Toronto on one of the back diamonds will be playing Physio and Co. So the schedule favors Toronto a little bit if they can come back in this one.
Grand Prairie's on a roll. Berg almost got to that ball. He was able to touch it, but not in a play to field it. He was 2 steps on the other side of the bag to get a glove on it, but it's another base hit. His second of the game as Derek Hyde continues to have a very fine offensive Canadian championship.
He's been on base all 3 times he's been at the plate today.
They do not elect a bunt with Mason McKay, the number 9 hitter. There's going to be a play. Travis Jones was moving towards the fence. That's where his momentum carried him. So smart base running by Hyde to see that he had a chance to tag to move into scoring position.
Yeah, it's a very heads-up base running. I saw him go back to the base as Jones was crossing over the foul line into foul territory. And a real heads-up play there. Not very deep, but with the momentum taking him to the fence, as you said, got there pretty easy at the end of the day.
And they intentionally walk Ty Sebastian with a base open. They've put the winning run on base. 1 out to face Cody Skelton. What you do not want to have happen in this inning is for it to potentially get back to number 19, Denny Benson, who has 2 home runs already today. Mannion back up working. Might this be the last batter for Santella?
Well, certainly if Cody Skelton reaches, you'll be going to Riley Mannion. Looking for a ground ball here right now in the middle infield.
I might be going that way regardless. There's the out, and Lelis with a bit of an ill-advised toss that 38-year-old veteran Brandon Horn took care of.
Well, it was a short hop over to Brandon Horn. I'm sure that was the last thing he wanted, was a soft toss short hop, which could have kicked just about anywhere.
So the ground ball leads to the second out. Santella versus Way. Trying to protect a 1-run lead, and he won't. Way punches the changeup up the middle, and the Toronto Batmen have scored 2 and have regained the lead. It's 6-5.
That's twice now. Corey Way has come up with a big hit to score a couple of runs and give the Batmen the lead. Did it the other night on day 1 against the Sauk Loggers, and now here again in the morning on day 3.
John Stewart just tapped me to say Steve Mullally in the background here. I tell him all the time, maybe one of the greatest single game performances in Canadian sports history.
Well,
how do you like that introduction, Mr. Newfoundland?
I heard you say that on the Tues Talk, and I've been following you along for a number of years, just as every other Canadian sports fan has, listening on the broadcast. So to hear that, I just say thank you. That's an unbelievable statement. Don't really know how to respond to it, but thanks.
Well, I've got goosebumps sitting beside you. I was lucky enough to meet you for the first time going all the way back to 2009 when I was lucky enough to call the World Championship in Saskatoon as Riley Mannion comes on, and now you're in a different role.
Yeah.
Are you ready to not go into the batter's box?
Yeah, it was.
You're okay?
Yeah, last year to be able to go out the way I did personally, and we did in Newfoundland, it's I'd say it's every ball player's dream to be able to go out at home as a champion, and it was kind of how it was drawn up in my own mind. You know, you don't want to go out injured. You don't want to go out not really being able to give everything you want to the game. So that transition was easier than I thought it was going to be, and really enjoyed the game from a different lens this year, watching it without the pressure of playing and preparing, really get to sit back and enjoy the game. That's what I'm looking forward to this week, but still come here, cheer on the boys, add in, and support the team any way I can.
Well, one of my all-time faves, Steve Mullally, part of the Pan American gold medal winning team, that group that did nothing in 2015, which will always, I'd have to think that would be your most favorite year of playing this sport?
Yeah, it definitely was. And the result obviously is the main reason for that, but the process of going through it with everybody, starting with John Stewart and the coaching staff, recognizing that we had this very unique opportunity to play for double gold at home. You're probably never going to get that opportunity again.
Well, it was incredible to watch. Unfortunately, I was not in the park for your 3 home runs, 7 runs batted in, coming from 5 down in the gold medal game against New Zealand. I was in the park for your Pan American gold medal winning effort as the ball gets away from Nick Moore and allows Corey Way, who's given Toronto a 6-5 lead in this battle of teams with 3-0 records. So I've been waiting for a long time to ask you. Take me through that day and what it was like for you to do what you did.
It was interesting because it's not like I was going into that game on a hot streak. I struggled the night before. I struck out my last 3 at-bats against Heine Shannon in that big game. You win that one, you go to the final. You have a game where you go 2 for 3 and knock in a couple of runs. We probably could have gone straight to the final. So I was in a bit of a funk when I went back to the hotel room, but reset. I think it was good that we got to get going early against Venezuela and get out of there in 4 innings, hit a home run in that game, and another hit. So all right, you can hit. I was just trying to figure it out, but then got in against Heine Shannon the first at bat, chased another one again. I said, man, we're got to slow this down. And then got in the batter's box, my second at bat, just took a deep breath, took a pitch, and then there was something clicked that says, all right, this is familiar, and was able to put a good swing on one to get back in the groove. And yeah, getting up with bases loaded there in the 4th inning, you dream about it. And I have dreamt about it. Getting up at home in a Team Canada uniform down by a run with bases loaded. And it was everything you could hope for and more. I was just happy that I got the pitch I was looking for and didn't miss.
I don't have many sporting regrets. And growing up in that park, Steve, and seeing so many major events, my schedule did not allow me to be there, but I'll tell you what, there was some kind of dancing going on in my house on that Sunday afternoon in front of a sellout crowd at Bob Van Impe Stadium. The place went bananas. Now, before I let you go, because I could chat with you all day, and one day we'll have to do a podcast together. That would be absolutely awesome. Here's the other question I've always wanted to ask you about, and that's the legacy of players like yourself from an amazing province and Newfoundland and Labrador, the hotbed really of the men's game. You helped build it. What does that mean to all of you and, part of the Galway Hitmen group that has won 8 of the last 9 Canadian championships, including the one which was the swan song for you as a player at this very time last year?
Well, it means a lot to us, and I like how you worded it because it's how we look at it. It's not 1 or 2 or 3 players that paved the way for this. We kind of took the torch from previous generations, but it was groups of ball players. Newfoundland has always been a hotbed because of how many talented ball players are there. So if there's any legacy that I'm most proud of, it's nothing that maybe 1 or 2 of us has done. Is what the group of Newfoundland ball players have done and what we've been able to do consistently over the last decade to finally be able to show the country that we can win, we're here to play. But there was 50 years of struggle up until that point. So that's the legacy, I think. It's the group from Newfoundland, not any individual player from there.
Steve, what a pleasure.
Absolutely.
Thank you for all that you've done and will continue to do. You're a special guy, and it's been just awesome getting a chance to ask you and have a chance to share what was an incredible day in Canadian sports history.
I appreciate you having me on. I've been a big fan of yours for a long time, as you know, and would love to get you on and chat with me and Hilly if you're up for it sometime soon.
Listen, if you guys ring the phone, Peter Loubardias will answer every day of the week, 365.
Well, that'll happen soon.
Okay,
so appreciate
good.
it, guys.
Thank you, Steve. Steve Mullally, one of the greatest Canadian individual game performances any sport ever. And I back that 100. I really believe that. Now, of course, this sport is near and dear to my heart, but you tell me that when you hit 3 home runs in a final of a world championship with your team down 5-0 to beat your arch rival in New Zealand in front of a packed stadium, all the pressure, and I wasn't going to go there with Steve as we have a ball game here, but I'm too fired up. But we'll get back to it. This guy remembers that day very well. He was a big part of it. Brandon Horn in 2015. He kind of keyed the whole thing in some ways to set the table for the guy that we just spoke to. And Toronto, in this great seesaw affair, finds themselves up a run after Corey Way has done it again.
Yeah, Corey Way came up really big, and while you were having the opportunity to chat with Steve, I was talking with John Stewart and Mike Brancho, and we were just debating the merits of that intentional walk to Ty Sebastian, which turns out right now to be the go-ahead run. 2 out of 3 of us agreed that that was the right move. The third dentist wasn't so sure. But give all the credit to Corey Way for delivering with the game on the line.
Well, that was a thrill for me.
And that was, for Canada in our sport, the Paul Henderson moment.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was. That is very well said. And you were lucky enough to be there and broadcast the game. I'm still kicking myself that I wasn't in a park where I'd really never missed one single event since its construction of that kind of nature, but life gets in the way. But it's fine. Trust me, there's been no shortage of great Canadian moments and experiences in my lifetime, and I cherish every single one of them. And in fact, Blair, I get out of bed every day kind of hoping and waiting for the next one. As Pauli set down, swinging, and quite a beginning for Randerson, who might have a chance in the near future again to play in a World Cup for his country.
Kevin Zare out to talk with the Batmen infield. Here's the great debate. What do you do with this guy?
There's no debate for me. He's going to first base.
Put the tying run on first. This is similar to the debate we just had about Ty Sebastian. You don't let the other team's best player beat you. Do you throw 1 or 2 to Bruce to see if you can get him to chase a waste pitch down and away? I don't know.
I'm not pitching to him.
Yeah, the old intentional walk, try 4 out of the zone, try to get him to chase. I think Quentin Bruce too smart for that, too good a hitter for that.
Well, you have to admire them. 2 home runs today, 11 runs batted in the tournament. A guy who's truly had an all-world last year in the sport. And they're going after him.
Drop ball down, and Bruce stuck the bat out in a little excuse-me check swing foul. So advantage Ty Randerson with strike 1.
This pool, and for Toronto, they will finish first because they have already down Grand Prairie, which would be the only team that could claw their way back in. And they have 2 strikes on them. See, that's why I'm up here, I guess, and not down there.
Well, they've got him to chase 2 borderline pitches. The first one was down and out. That one was on the outside corner. And again, big advantage here to Tyler Randerson. He doesn't have to throw a strike for the next 3 pitches.
No balls, 2 strikes, 2 out, top of the 7th. And struck him out. There's an at-bat that Tyler Randerson and a half inning this youngster will never forget. Struck out the side, including Quentin Bruce, who could not pull off the Steve Mullally in this game. Went in search of a 3-home run game, and Randerson got the best of Quentin Bruce, and the Toronto Batmen have guaranteed themselves a first-place finish in their group here at the Canadian Senior Men's Championship. And Blair, it was all that we were hoping for, and maybe even a little bit more.
Well, you and I talked off air when it was 5-4, and we said that score is not going to last, and it didn't. Toronto Batmen with a big late rally again in this tournament for a big win, secures them first place in the pool, and they're looking pretty good at this point, Peter, for a repeat appearance, maybe, in the championship game.
And it would avoid the Galway Hitmen in the crossover game in the, how do you call it these days, the winner's bracket? It used to be the A side and the B side.
Yeah, I think let's call it the double life bracket.
The double, I like that. Even though the championship game is still a single game scenario. We'll talk about that later. We'll have lots of time before the weekend is over. Toronto, 4-0. They'll finish first regardless of their last game, while Bear Creek now will have a big showdown at 4 o'clock with the Grand Prairie Pirates.
Winner of that will take second place in the pool. Stay with us on Softball Premier TV for the next 2 games. We'll bring you video of the Sauk and Surrey game coming up. We'll be back at 4 o'clock with Bear Creek and Grand Prairie.
Thank you as always, Luciano, Carol of Softball Premier TV. Terrific work as always. We thoroughly enjoyed it. The Batmen take another step towards the Canadian final again with a 6-5 come-from-behind victory over the Bear Creek Express. So long for now from Softball City in South Surrey.
For the latest in softball innovation, the website where you can experience the best tournaments in the Americas. Live games, news, tournaments, and much, much more. The best quality live softball, on demand so you can watch when you want. Become a Premier member now. SoftballPremierTV.com. Live it on Softball